This is the first in the series of the webinar for Print Week India Awards 2017. There's a huge debate on whether profitability and going green are related. This webinar aims to help companies gauge their eco-friendly quotient. Today, we have a wonderful lineup of expert speakers from Pidilite and leaders of top packaging and print firms. The speakers will share their green checklist and highlight their initiatives on the green front. The panel of speakers include Animesh Kejriwal of Parsons Graphics, K. Selvakumar of Lovely Offset, Vipul Arora of ITC, Sanjeev Kalra of Pidilite Industries, and the session will be moderated by Noel Diguna of Print Week India. At the end of the session, the floor will be open for an interactive session of question and answer round. Ensure to send in your queries addressed to the specific panelist through the chat window at the right hand side box in the bottom of your screen. So now let me introduce you to Noel Diguna. Noel Diguna is the managing editor at Print Week India. He has mapped the label and packaging verticals over the past decades. Now, he will share a brief overview on how sustainability can be a tool in competitive printing. Over to you, Noel Diguna.
Thank you, Priya. Hi, I am Noel from Print Week India. I'm going to give you a little bit of overview on sustainability and how it can become a tool in competitive printing. First of all, we need to understand why are you in business? Of course, it is to make monies as well as secure future of your next gen, not only in terms of finances but also protecting what has been given to us in creation, and of course leave a better and cleaner environment for the community. How can we achieve the marriage between profitability while increasing our green scorecard? Well, you can do that by doing business in a smart way. So where are the challenges? Or rather, where is the challenge? It's in declining economic activity and eroding profit margins. It is therefore becoming increasingly important for the print industry to look at profitability and the components that go into it. So what are the challenges? The challenges are in reducing wastage, cutting downtime, controlling environmental cost, reducing energy, maximizing production, and finally improving margins. Now all this means one has to reduce cost. So how do we do this? Of course, you can do it by adding automated presses, but there are other costs too, and these are material costs, substrate, ink cost, cost of building, heating and cooling, and electricity cost too. Each one of these components needs to be looked at and are to be in the right place too. So you have a brand new printing press, but when you are not equipped to get the job onto the press quickly, you are starting and stopping. A simple example is a narrow web label press. When you do a manual roll job, the power is still on. You have the UV lamps which are still powered on. There are other forms of dryers as well. This means a lot of energy is being consumed even before you have actually started printing the product. How do you reduce energy? One example at the printing press in Germany, this is just an example. A converter was looking for a government grant to help improve themselves. One of the requirement was to show how they are going to reduce energy consumption. The company had two packaging jobs next to each other, one automated, the other still a manual operation. An independent agency was appointed to verify the power consumption. The task was to print identical jobs, one on the automated press and the other on the non-automated press. The company did the two different jobs, one a simple 4-color job, and the savings with the automation was 13% over the non-automated job. But the complex job, which was a premium product, the savings doubled. The average power saving came around 23%. That was what the study found. And it also confirmed that the company had adhered to the energy saving program. So what is being more efficient? When there is reduction in input to produce a unit output. So when you reduce waste, you also increase profitability. I have got a small little case in point here. PNG. So between 2002 and 2012, they reduced 74% of waste discharge. They reduced 85% of water consumption. They reduced 52% energy consumption. They reduced 52% direct emission of carbon dioxide. The ultimate saving was USD 10 billion. As a print company, how do you look at sustainability? One, be a good businessman. Be a good employer to your employees. Look at the supply chain you have to maintain your own profitability in your business. And also be a good steward to what has been given to us in creation and live in a cleaner environment even as we do business. These should be the code of conduct or code of ethics. If you reduce your wastage, your energy consumption, that is good for your bottom line, and that is good for the environment too. For example, if you reduce fresh water usage, you leave that much of fresh water for others to use. You reduce the usage of material, you are putting lesser burden on the landfill. A conservative estimate, according to experts, is that a print company produces a minimum of 20 to 21,000 kilos of wasted material to landfills each year. Two things: it's a considerable burden on the landfill, and second, you spend money on buying the material and you're actually throwing it away. Likewise, think about ink, varnishes, chemicals used, and it becomes even more considerable. How does an employee contribute to sustainability? First of all, as an employer, you will need to empower the employees, make them feel like they are part of the company. You'll need to educate them. If the employee has an outlook that is beyond themselves, beyond the company, they will actually be doing things to contribute to making a healthy environment, a healthy community. For example, instead of carelessly performing their jobs, they can always take greater care while doing so. And if you are smart enough, you will recognize this. An employee who does functions that are smarter and reduces wastage, that's straight to the bottom line. If your margins are 15% and you save 1 crore per year in wastages, that's like adding 1 crore of sales to your business. Who can instantly create such a sale? Your employee needs to be empowered. Partnering with the suppliers. For a business to survive, it's strategic to have business partnership with suppliers. That's because we need to make smart decisions when buying equipment or material needed to produce a product. What is needed is respect of each other's technology, expertise, and time. A goal of every buyer or supplier is to make a good business decision. For example, if the buyer does not make his return on investment in quick time or even as per the schedule, how would it be sustainable both for the buyer as well as the supplier? Don't get tricked into buying something that's not good for your business. Remember the three E's. One is, is it easy to understand? Two, is it easy to operate? Is it easy to maintain? In all the three, you will see if your operator can intuitively understand what's going on to move the press or even other equipment, even before they actually see the video or is trained. Are they able to easily operate the equipment? And whether they're able to operate the equipment in few days, not take days together. Everyone wants to control the input to their business. So if they are able to keep the machine running, you're not just making money, but are actually increasing your profitability, because the ability of your operator to keep the machine running means you are making more business. What to look for in a supplier? One, are they consultative, not just selling equipment? If they're only selling equipment to you, then they are not really adding any value to your business. Do they have the technical expertise and support for your requirement? Remember, what you do to your customer, you value add, you differentiate. If your supplier does not add value with consultation, giving you choices even about the products they have, they may not be a sustainable proportion for you. Next, how transparent are they when they discuss the return on your investment? Look at their supply chain within your supplier's company. How transparent do they have the technical expertise? Sorry. Look at the business model of your supplier. Is the cost of equipment so low that they can charge you for the parts and services later on? That's not a healthy model. A supplier will always want to be paid for a good piece of equipment that's well engineered, well designed for the purpose, and will serve him for years, not just make money on parts and services. Does the supplier tell you that about the spares they have and also provide the part numbers if you would want to maintain it? So finally, be prepared, go green. In a maturing and evolving and upcoming economies, the growth rates are substantial. One can always see a 12, 18 and more percent growth year on year. You are involved with expanding the capacities, and that's great because there's throughput, there's more monies. But if you are 25% or more inefficient, you are not gaining on profitability. In a market that is growing so rapidly, it will keep you going. But when the market slows down, and it can be for any reason, it can be like the demonetization or a GST, and if you haven't been efficient, it can become a dangerous proportion to you. Even growing markets go through phases where they are slow and may not recover to where they were. So be sustainable, it helps. Thank you so much. I will now ask Priya to introduce the other panelist.
Thank you, Noel Dicuna. The next speaker is Sanjeev Kalra from Pidilite Industries. Sanjeev Kalra is a plastic technologist from UD He has worked with Pidilite Industries for over 3 decades. In his career spanning 30 years, he has worked on development of polyurethanes, quality assurance, and customer support technical services. Over to you, Sanjeev Kalra.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, good afternoon, friends. I'll be speaking on sustainable and green environment for packaging from the adhesive perspective. In doing so, I'll be making a very short introduction to Pidilite and the principles followed by Pidilite and the initiatives taken over the years to give the green products for the packaging industry. Now, next please. The Pidilite was established in 1959 and our big brands, as you all are aware, are Fevicol, Dr. Fixit, M-Seal, Fevikwik. We are into consumer as well as the industrial product range. In India, we have around 33 regional offices, 22 plants, 30 co-makers, a huge network of distribution. In the export market or the international market, we have manufacturing facilities in Thailand, Singapore, Dubai, Brazil, US, Egypt, and Bangladesh. Our export earnings are 10%. Next, please. We believe in corporate social responsibility in terms of rural development, education initiatives, particularly for the girls' education. We run hospitals in Ahmedabad, which is the healthcare responsibility which we undertake. The industrial products are, we cater to various segments in the industrial product range, of which are cigarette industry, paper converting, book binding, end of line, tapes, labels, and so on and so forth. In paper converting, where we all are there today in the webinar, we cater by giving products for lamination and packaging for making monocartons, shipper boxes, paper bags, soap wrappers, and so on and so forth. In doing so, we make a large variety of technologies for catering to these industries. We make water-based acrylics, polyvinyl acetates, polyvinyl alcohols, polyurethanes, hot melts, metallocene-based, EVA-based, solvent-based, rubber-based, PUDs, epoxies, and so on and so forth. Now, one of the few things which I would like to point out here is we are the very few companies who handle so many technologies under one roof, and thereby it is a tough effort by our R&D people, where they focus on the raw material and process selection in order to make these safe products. Now, what's green? Green products are combustible, recyclable products which are non-toxic, free of polluting chemicals, and leave low or no carbon footprint. Going green. Now, what do we mean by going green? Going green means starting out with simple steps. These could be simple, small steps or big steps to minimize the harm to the environment and the users of the products. In order to achieve the Go Green objective, we adopted 4 basic principles: reduce pollution, conserve resources, conserve energy, reduce consumption, and waste. Now, there are major initiatives which we have taken in order to achieve the Go Green objective by making the adhesives compliant to various regulations. Most important, of course, we go one by one onto the various regulations. VOC is one of the most important milestone or the important parameter which is taken care of while designing the adhesives. VOC means volatile organic compound emissions. Now, high VOC will be harmful to the environment and human beings. Adhesives are based on various technologies like water-based, solvent-based, solvent-free, hot melts, etc. Water-based are less harmful. Solvent-based, as we all know, is more harmful because it will emit more of the organic volatile compound. The emissions will be high. Now, replacing the solvent-based to water-based is a major step towards the Go Green. One of the examples we will cite is we developed adhesives which are water-based on EVA and acrylic platforms, which have working fine for the flexible packaging industry, mainly for the aluminum foil to paper and film to paper applications. Now, water-based products are supposed to be safe, but there are few water-based which will also have certain volatile compounds. These volatile compounds are added to improve the green bond, final bond, or maybe cost reduction, or maybe to improve the drying time. Now, by doing a proper designing, by using certain high-end or the high engineered polymers, we can overcome this by to replace solvents by the high-end polymers. The classic example would be Fevicol, DLX, and CPW, which we are supplying to the packaging industry, which works well and without the solvents. In case of solvent-based products, benzene and toluene-free products are the key. We don't add benzene, we don't use toluene, and we supply the rubber-based products to the industry, mainly the footwear industry, which are very safe. The other important objective or the initiative is to make products which are APEO free or formaldehyde free. Now, APEO is alkyl phenol ethoxylates. These on biodegradation produces toxic phenols which are harmful to health. Now, the latest water-based dry lamination adhesive products which are used to laminate on machines like Wenchvans and Ely's are based on polymers which are APEO free. Now, formaldehyde. Formaldehyde is carcinogenic. Formaldehydes should be avoided in formulations. The formaldehyde liberating substances also should be avoided. And we are proud to say that we make polymers without formaldehyde or formaldehyde releasing substances. Phthalate. Phthalate are used in PVC floorings, leather cloth, adhesives, textiles for the properties of flexibilizing the product. Now, shift from the use of phthalates in the adhesive formulation is a key Go Green initiative. US FDA also has the regulation that phthalates are not to be used. Pidilite's products, which we are supplying to packaging and converting industry since last 20-30 years, like Fevicol CPW 2000, HP002, are all phthalate free. The other important initiative is to use or make adhesives without heavy metals and other chemicals. Next, please. Now, RoHS is the Restriction of Hazardous Substances Directive. Heavy metal and other chemicals are a part of RoHS guidelines. This was originated in the European Union, mainly for the electronics and electrical for the products. Now, chemicals like antimony, arsenic, barium, cadmium, chromium, lead, mercury, and selenium are the heavy metals, and these are banned. These are very harmful. RoHS specifies certain limits in ppm level for these restricted substances. Now, our products are entirely heavy metal free, and the adhesives which is supplied to the packaging industry. REACH norms. Now, REACH is a regulation of European Union. REACH contains two set of guidelines. The polymers or the monomers or the chemicals which are used are should be avoided, and they give a threshold limit in the REACH norms. There are substances of very high concern. There are substances of which are REACH restricted substances. Now, when any product does not have SVHC or the REACH restricted substances above a threshold limit, then the product is said to be a REACH compliant. In case there are products which have the limits above the threshold limit, then there is a progressive substitution of the dangerous chemicals or the raw materials which have to be done. We are again supplying products like CPW 2000, DLX to the packaging industry, which are all REACH compliant. Next is EN 71 regulations. EN 71 is a set of European, next please. EN 71 regulations. EN 71 is a set of European product safety standard. It was mainly devised for toys. This speaks of minimum safety norms on the factors like mechanical, noise, flame retardants, chemical composition. For adhesives, chemical composition is the key. Now, heavy metals, which we spoke of, REACH and many other guidelines are part of EN 71. Go Green initiative is to make products which conform to all the above guidelines and including EN 71. Our products again are EN 71 compliant. In terms of Pidilite's manufacturing locations, we work on the reduction of consumption of electricity, fuel, and water, thereby making the atmosphere and the workplace more greener. Also, we work on the reduction of the harmful output like the gas emissions, pollutants, wastewater, and solid waste. Now, these are achieved by installing ETP plants, which is effluent treatment, which are present at all our locations. We said we have 22 manufacturing. We have all the plants have ETP in the plant. The chiller vent condensers are present in the solvent-based plants, so that the solvents are avoided going to the atmosphere, thus making the atmosphere more safer. There are pulse jet dust collector installed in the boilers, which will reduce or minimize the suspended particulate matter going into the atmosphere. We use LED lights. We believe in rain harvesting water. Our plants are ISO 9000, 14000, 18000 certified. Thus, Pidilite is committed to Go Green initiatives, which we have been taking since quite a number of years. This is done by developing the products or the product range which are compliant to various international norms which we discussed. Also, our manufacturing locations believe in the 3R 3R systems where we reduce pollution and pollutants. 3R basically means refuse, reduce, and recycle. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sanjeev Kalra. Your presentation was very edifying. The next speaker is Vipul Arora from ITC. Vipul Arora heads the sheetfed operations of ITC's plant in Haridwar. An alumni of IIT Roorkee, he joined ITC in 2010 and has handled various positions spanning engineering, projects, and operations in his career of 7 years. A BEE certified energy auditor, he is also the divisional EHS coordinator and oversees all the sustainability initiatives of ITC's business. Over to you, Vipul Arora.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. In my short presentation today, I will take you through why doing business in a sustainable way is important and why it makes sense to do so. Next, please. So as all of us know, climate change is for real, and the Paris Climate Change Agreement, which was signed in late 2015, entails some sustainable development goals for everyone in the world. Climate change, like is mentioned in the slide, is a very complex and a long-term phenomena, and the effects of which are interrelated. You will find global warming is the most important effect of climate change, which we see impacting a lot of people in the world. So what is important for us is to have a good environmental performance. So in terms of the way ITC approaches environmental performance is, we look at a triple bottom line performance. So we look at our performance not just for the economy, which is the profit and top line, bottom line part, but we also care for our people, customers, workers, vendors, investors. We also do business in such a way that we protect our planet, the environment. And I'm proud to say here that ITC is the only company of its size in the world to be carbon positive for 11 years in a row, water positive for 14 years in a row, and solid waste recycling positive for 9 years in a row. All this is driven by our motto, which says a better tomorrow for all of us. Next slide, please. So just to share the approach with you, we have two different approaches that we follow for sustainability. One is within our boundary, within our manufacturing boundary, and one which is outside the boundary. So within the boundary, we design our plants in alignment with the best practices. So they are integrated during the design phase. And then during the operations phase, we take targets for specific energy, water, and waste consumption. Here, one important thing which I would like to highlight is there are certain companies which track only the total energy, total water, and the total waste that gets consumed or generated. It is important to actually monitor specific energy, which is nothing but the total energy consumption divided by your total production. So in case your production goes for a low or a high, then naturally specific energy, if it is the same, then your performance is also okay. The next is, of course, the data management part. So we have an online system, sustainability data management system, which tracks data across the businesses, and this is what is used at the end of the year to compile data for our sustainability report, which gets released every year, and it is GRI compliant. Next slide, please. So outside the boundary, the approach that we follow is we buy from responsible suppliers, Pidilite, one of them. We also have integrated watershed development programs. So in case there is an area which is, which has low water resources, then we do watershed development there. We make our products which are life cycle sustainable. We do a life cycle assessment study for their entire life and see how we can reduce their environmental footprint. We are also engaged with a lot of farmers and the local community especially in our social and farm forestry programs. Next, please. Next, please. Coming specifically to the sustainability initiatives of the packaging and printing business, uh, we have our own off-site windmills. We also have solar water heating and biogas plants. Uh, we do about 99% recycling of our waste to authorized agencies. We have rainwater harvesting, which was installed way back in 2001, well before statutory agencies started demanding it. We try to recycle most of our water, which gets generated as a waste. We also run community programs, which is well-being out of waste. We go on and collect waste from communities and try to recycle that. We also have vermicomposting pits in our site. We use superior kerosene oil as the fuel and diesel and not furnace oil, ensuring that the emissions are lower. And then we also have uh, acoustic enclosures so that the noise levels are lower at the boundary level. Next slide, please. So taking you in detail through some of these initiatives. So like I mentioned earlier, we have our own windmills. So we have 9 of them with a total capacity of about 14 megawatt. These are off-site. These are located about 300 kilometers away from Chennai and generate about 400 lakh units in a year, and which is of course more than the consumption of our Chennai plant, and the excess energy which is generated is given to the grid for supplying to other places. We also installed the solar water heaters for our canteen in 2010. It reduces our fuel consumption, reduces pollution. Next, please. One interesting project which we did a couple of years ago was use of AHU condensate. So as you all know, there is a lot of relative humidity in the atmosphere. So and there are AHUs, which is nothing but air handling units, which are used to air condition most of the areas of the plant. And when the air carrying moisture passes through an HU, there is a lot of condensate which gets generated, which was earlier going down the drain into stormwater drains. We started collecting that condensate. It is nothing but pure water, and we have been able to save about 25 kl water in Chennai and 13 kl water in Haridwar, which is a total savings of about 13.8 million liters a year, which is huge. Uh, Next slide, just to share the scheme with you in case anyone wants to implement this. You can just take the water from all the AHUs, collate it, uh, collect it together in one particular tank, and then take it to areas where you need uh, good quality water. It can be cooling tower, it can be a boiler, whatever you wish you can do. I mean, if you want to recycle in the process, that is also possible. Next slide, please. Another interesting initiative which we implemented 5-6 years ago was board waste compacting. A lot of waste which comes out of die cutter was earlier sent back for recycling in the form which you see on the left. After we got into investment of a compactor and a suction device, this is how it is. Of course, it is more compact, keeps the area more clean, and needless to add, it improves the truck loadability from 4 tons to about 8 tons, reduces freight emissions, and the person who is recycling our waste is also happier because he can carry more waste per truck. Next slide, please. Like I mentioned in the beginning, we also have vermicompost pits, which collect a lot of waste leaves, dried leaves, which get generated in our factory. Uh, we generate about 6 tons of manure out of this every 2 months, and there are two uses out of this. One, it is used inside the factory as manure, and second, it is also distributed free of cost to employees who are interested to take that home. They can use it in their home gardens, etc. So summarizing, it is important that environmental performance is monitored and measured. Only then you will be able to improve it. These are the few areas which you need to track in case you want to improve your environmental performance. Use of energy, your emissions, water and waste management, use of raw materials, and biodiversity. So just an overview of where we stand against these things. We use renewable energy to meet 40% of our energy needs. In terms of specific energy, we achieved a 4% year-on-year reduction last year. Specific water, 13% year-on-year reduction last year. Specific waste reduction by 3%, and GHG emissions reduction by 8%. So like Noel was mentioning, it is important that these are reduced, and it is not just for the environment. I can tell you that each of these initiatives that we took ultimately made business sense, and we get economically out of it as well. All the best to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Vipul Arora. Lots of learnings from your presentation. The next speaker is Selvakumar Kadarkarai from Sivakasi's Lovely Offset. Selvakumar is the director at Sivakasi-based Lovely Offset Printers. Lovely Offset was established in 1961 by his father. After his post-graduation in management, he's been heading the business since 1990 along with his brothers. In addition to producing beautiful books, he is interested in bird book photography, philosophy, and farming. Over to you, Selvakumar.
Thank you, Priya. First of all, I would like to thank Brinkwick for making a small presentation about what we do at Lovely Offset regarding the protection of the environment. See, basically, I'm from a place called Sivakasi. I'm sure most of you know, which used to be called as the Mecca of printing. See, the most funniest part is that Sivakasi is a very dry place, and the water is scarce throughout the year. So it is by nature that we have to tune ourselves with the environment. We have to be very conservative in utilizing the natural resources. So tuning up with the environment is part of our day-to-day life. Priya, can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah. See, as I told you, we have protection of the environment as an integral part of our business, and we always operate in harmony with the environment. To a very great extent, we try to operate without disturbing what is there in the environment. For instance, when we moved to this new 30-acre plot for our new factory, we ensured that when we did the construction, we planned the buildings in such a way that we did not have to cut trees unnecessarily. There were quite a number of trees even before we moved in here, and once we moved in, we planted more trees also. And right from day one, we have been having very clear policies like usage of renewable energy, conservation of so many things, recycling, clear idea about what we have to do with our wastage, reducing carbon footprint, and so on. So first is power generation. Actually, at the moment, we have about 8 wind turbines generating about 2 megawatts of wind power, and we also have a small solar plant which actually powers our office room inside the factory. It covers about 60 to 70% of our power requirement, and within a couple of years, we plan to install more wind turbines and increase our capacity in the solar front, so that our entire power requirement is managed by renewable energy. Then, coming to energy conservation, it makes sense to conserve energy because that is one area where it pays you to conserve energy. Because you, in a typical factory environment, you find that energy is being wasted unnecessarily in so many aspects, like they don't switch out the machine when they do some simple operation, they don't switch out the UV lamps, so many things, small things. So you train your people to follow certain procedures so that power is not wasted unnecessarily. Then one area which is usually neglected in many places is that preventive maintenance. Preventive maintenance of both machinery and electrical equipments, electrical fittings. For example, we noticed a couple of years ago that the panel boards were not clean, and that actually caused so many short circuits, and we were having a lot of electrical breakdowns. Once we put a system in place to take care of this preventive, to do preventive maintenance, we found that definitely about 20% of electrical breakdowns were reduced, and the money that we were spending on replacing those fittings or equipment had come down by another 20-25%. We also ensure that our equipments are all maintained properly so that energy is used efficiently. Proper oiling, greasing, all that is done perfectly so that energy is not wasted. Then we also use energy efficient fittings. Whatever new fittings that we put into our factory is only LED. We don't go for anything other than LED. And whenever we want to buy a new equipment, we ensure that the equipment is very energy efficient. We compare competitors' products, and we always prefer equipments that consume less power. And we have also designed our factory in such a way that during the daytime, it's not necessary to switch on the lights inside the factory in most of the departments. We use natural light during the daytime inside the factory. Then recycling. We take great care in recycling because, as I told you, water is a very precious commodity in Sivakasi. The rainfall, it's very tricky. Sometimes you get rain, sometimes you don't. And groundwater table has fallen below 600 to 700 feet, and there's no assurance that even if you put new bore wells, you will get water all the time. Right? So what we do is we have a huge garden inside the factory, and we have planted more than 1,500 trees inside the factory. So to water those plants and trees, what we do is we collect water from toilets, put it in our sewage treatment plant, and whatever comes out of that STP is used to water these plants and trees. Then again, we have a couple of wells. This plot that we used to be a farm, old farm, but due to water scarcity, there was no farming done in the last 100 years in this area. Then. So we have a RO plant, and the wastewater from the RO plant is again pushed it into, is fed into the well. The well has some water, so the impurities are diluted, and this water is again fed to feed the plants and trees. Sorry. The most important thing in our factory is that we have invested huge amounts of money in rainwater harvesting. So whatever water is collected from the roof of our factory sheds is properly collected. Nothing is allowed to be wasted. It is taken to a huge tank, about 300,000 liter capacity tank, which underground tanks. And when that tank is filled up, we take the leftover water into the wells. And when the wells are filled up, we have some small pits inside our campus, and the water is fed into those pits. The most important thing about this process is that we found that the groundwater level has increased in the last 4 or 5 years. We are really happy to say that this has helped not only us, but the small fellows who are surrounding our factory. Next one, please. So we are very committed to reducing the carbon footprint. See, basically, printing industry is relatively a non-polluting industry. I'm very happy to be associated with industry for this reason also. But still, we try to give back more to the more to Mother Earth than what we take. So every year we try to plant more trees, not only inside our campus but also outside our campus. We send out our people to plant trees outside during our environmental week celebrations. We take it as a very serious process. And this year, I recently read about this Miyawaki forest, which they say is a very sustainable way of creating forests inside small towns or cities. That's a very interesting thing, and companies like Toyota have successfully done this. So we are doing a test project now outside our factory, and once that is successful, probably in a year or two, we'll create a forest inside our factory also. Then waste disposal. Production waste is properly segregated and disposed. Like Vipul Arora said, we also have this compacting units so that the wastes are compacted, so that transport space, everything is saved. Then whatever food that is wasted from the canteen excess, vegetable cutting waste, everything, they are all collected properly and put in vermicompost pits, and manure is generated, and that manure is used in our farms to grow vegetables, which is again used in our canteens. And chemical waste, especially from cleaning the rollers and everything, they're all collected properly and disposed through a simple ETP. Next one, please. Yeah, this is the picture of our sewage treatment plant, and next one, please. And this is our ETP. So, employee engagement. Nothing happens without training our employees on this. So, we constantly keep telling our employees to reduce wastage, because that is one other area where you can save a lot of money by being friendly to the environment. You don't waste material, you reduce the burden on Mother Earth, and at the same time you save money, a lot of money. We also train them to conserve power. We don't let them switch on lights unnecessarily, and air conditioners are always switched off when they move out. And there are certain standard operating procedures given to the operators while running the equipment also. So we generally train them again and again and again so that power wastage is minimized. And during this Environment Week celebration, we create an awareness about what environment is and how we can make the difference. And last few years, I think we've been celebrating this Environment Week, where people take a pledge to protect the environment. So, like I said, we've been doing our bit so that the sustainability of our environment is maintained, and we maintain a positive carbon footprint. Unfortunately, I don't have any statistics to show that, but I can tell you that we may not be the best in protecting the environment, but always we keep trying. And before I conclude, I would like to say that sustainability is fine, but fundamentally, I would always say that if you want to protect the environment, you have to reduce the consumption. When I say consumption, unnecessary consumption of things, wasting things. So unless you do that, there's no way we are going to protect our environment. Thank you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Selvakumar. It is amazing to hear the journey of your sprawling 26-acre book factory in Sivakasi. The next speaker is Animesh Kejriwal from Parsons Graphics. Animesh Kejriwal is the director at Mumbai's Parsons Graphics. Animesh is a super strategist, a man of science, a software prodigy. His print firm specializes in commercial print, books, and playing cards. Over to you, Animesh.
Hi, everyone. It was very exciting listening to all the initiatives taken by all the other panelist companies. Lots of learnings too. For example, I didn't realize that a compacting machine for your waste is actually feasible in India. I always assumed it's not economically viable, but it's something I look into. So thanks. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to talk about where we are currently with the printing environment and landscape, how we look at green in our print space, and some of the initiatives we've taken internally. So what we've done is very simple initiatives that I'll talk about and how we've gone about it. And my hope is that you can pick up some things and maybe apply it into your own firms and benefit from it. So the current landscape, if you look at it with regards to print, we hear a lot of green being a buzzword in the industry and in the market. A lot of brands talk about it. A lot of companies mention it in their pitches. But honestly, it's something very hard to pursue unless there's an economic viability behind it. Very rarely have I seen someone do it truly for the passion of just being green. So even, and somehow there is a strong correlation, as you've seen with the earlier presentation as well. Reduction, conservation, they all result in saving of costs, improving profits, and being green. So it's a double benefit, so to say. The only other trigger that pushes this green initiative is market demand, and so clients asking for certain certifications, or the government pushing certain enforcements. In India, what we also find is that green is sort of double-edged, right? So for example, we are an FSC certified company, and that's largely eco-friendly or being environment friendly. But at the same time, the conditions force us to use backup power like a DG, which is not an eco-friendly energy source. So you have to coexist, and the hope is that as things improve, as power gets cleaner, we'll be able to eliminate these things from our companies. The ministry itself has started getting a lot more particular about implementation of pollution control, and it's a good time for cleaning up. I think it's kudos to Print Week as well for creating this initiative and awareness of green companies in India. I think it forces us also to reflect on ourselves of what we've done over the year, and even putting it down in the form of a report or a showcasing that is beneficial to both the listeners and the presenters. So the process that we follow, as I said earlier, is that we look at reducing consumption. That reduces costs, and we also become more green because we're consuming less resources. Eventually, our goal is to become zero waste, and that should be for any manufacturing company. So to say, you're self-sustaining, you're consuming everything that you're having to throw out effectively. It's an iterative process, something that's going over continuous improvement, and the three ways that you can achieve it: by increasing your efficiency. So if you're running a better plant, a faster plant, your per capita consumption is lower. Reducing your wastages. This could be finish, this could be energy, all kinds of wastages. Time wastage is also a wastage. And increasing your recycling. So whatever you output as waste, if you can reuse it in some way, then it helps be more green and achieve that zero waste principle. Next slide, please. So reducing consumption, the way we look at it is, first, most important according to me, is to create some kind of framework. You need some measurement to be able to tell you where you are, because a lot of times we're investing in eco-friendly or more energy efficient equipment, but we don't know what we ended up with. So we might have bought a 5-star AC instead of a 3-star AC, but at the end of the day, do we really know it was worth it? And if we have to make that decision again, does it make sense to make the 5-star, or is it better to go with the 3-star, economically at least? So if you have a framework, it helps you make those decisions, and it helps make more decisions. So for example, we run 3 plants across Western India. We have one in Daman, one in New Bombay, and one in Andheri. And not all of our plants have a clear framework for measurement. And I can tell you that we do a lot more initiatives in the plants that have measurement frameworks than the ones that don't. So the first step would be to create this kind of framework, and then you start identifying areas for improvement. Now this could be just by looking at your sheer numbers and going with the lowest hanging fruit, or even doing an energy audit and get input from a consultant on where all you can do and what are the available resources. Then what we typically do is we do a small pilot. So if you want to try a new equipment, or if you want to try a new technology, we'll either do a very small piece of it, or if it's not available, then we'll try and borrow the equipment for a bit, run it in our plant, and then look at the results we get, and then roll it out across all the plants, or if it's not worth it, then just roll back. And I think that's true of anything, right? It's experimentation, and you're basically building on your successes and rolling back your failures. That's all you're doing. So next slide, please. The framework we use for our measurement is a very simple thing. We've basically set up, this is for our power, and you can apply this across any parameter, right? So it could be done across water, it could be done across waste. We basically set up energy meters on all our panels across all our departments. And these meters are hardly a cost. I mean, if you have even 20 of them across your unit, each meter would not cost you more than 3,000-4,000 rupees. It's a one-time cost. And we have someone who just notes down the readings every day on these meters. And then we have a spreadsheet which just builds it all up automatically into a summary form. And we get monthly data on department-wise consumption of energy units. And it helps us track what's going on in each department. When we install a new initiative, we can see the progress or the improvement made. So, for example, if you look at the compressor, which is the 8th line, this is a huge power consumption, compressed air, right? And a lot of people miss it when they're buying compressors. So this helped us identify that this is such a huge cost center and then work on reducing that over time. Now, the other issue is also that this fluctuates with your demand. So if you're printing more over a month versus less, the energy units can fluctuate. So it's also important is that you convert it to a ratio. So one of the metrics we use is impressions per printing unit. So the number of impressions we get per energy unit consumed, or the impressions we get per AC unit consumed. That's your cooling efficiency. For a packaging company, it could be your total energy consumption divided by your converting the tons you're converting every month. So you can come up with your own metrics. For your compressed air, you could look at the units you're consuming divided by the CFM produced every month. You will get a lot of the new equipment. You can see that on the panel of the equipment. So you need to devise your own ratios based on your workings and then use that as a incentive to improve over time. So the 3 areas of focus that we've looked at: power, water, and just miscellaneous items. In power, some of the things we've done are move to LED lights. That was a fairly easy decision, but again, we did the same process. We installed about 50 lights in a room. We monitored the improvement. Then we decided to roll it out plant-wide. The only caveat that we've heard of people having issues if you're using UV inks with LED, so you should be cautious of that. The other thing we did was move to a VFD compressor. VFD stands for variable frequency drive. So what we realized is that our compressed air usage was much lesser at night than compared to the day. With a static drive, you're running the same engine at day and night. So an 18 HP motor is running the same at day and night, consuming the same amount of energy, whereas your requirement is much less. The variable frequency helps it adjust to the demand. So at night, it could be running at 50% load. And so your power consumption drops 50%. And in day, it will be running at full capacity. So that's made a huge difference in helping bring down that compressed air energy cost. The other issue we had was a lot of air, because we have a centralized unit, a lot of air gets lost in transmission from the compressors to the points of consumption. Improving the piping has made a huge difference in controlling leakages and therefore improving the efficiency of the entire system. It's not only reduced our compressed air demand, it's also improved our power consumption and ensured that we have less compressors available in the plant. The air-conditioned room, we've insulated as much as we could. You literally try to treat it like a fridge, so all the cool air stays inside, nothing gets leaked out. Again, the benefit of that, we're able to correlate with the numbers we see. And lastly, in the printing power space, the other thing that we realized is a lot of places in India, especially where we're doing manufacturing, the power quality isn't very good. When you select power, when you try to improve power quality, you need to either fit in a UPS or a transformer or some kind of stabilizer. Now, each of these equipments come with their own losses. So you could be losing as little as 7% to even higher. A lot of times when making the decision on purchase, we don't look at these efficiencies and they make a critical impact on your energy consumption. So again, keeping that in mind, you can help improve a lot of your power demand. Now coming to water reduction, a lot of like ITC and even Lovely Offset showed, they have an STP or ETP, and they're recycling their treated water. This, see, while power is a much more expensive resource in terms of cost, water is still not as much of a cost for a company. But we realize the importance of water when we've all faced drought situations or scarcity at some point. For example, in Western India, last to last year was very, very severe, almost 50% power cuts. So there we see the benefits of these kind of initiatives where we were recycling our power and we really didn't need much external help. So we have an STP which treats our sewage, and we use that for a lot of gardening. We also plan to use it for flushing and other activities, but we haven't really integrated that yet. But that's in the works. A lot of initiatives in the CTP space, in the pre-press area, are moving towards chemistry-free plates. These technologies have been around for at least, I think, 3 years, but now they're starting to mature, and you're starting to see economic viability as well as the quality that you were getting from the regular plates. There are two benefits in this. You eliminate the entire operation of a processor, and you also become greener. So we've looked at the economic viability. It's comparable now. So I would suggest that you also look into exploring this option. Technova, Kodak, Fuji, I think they all are able to supply these. And lastly, even in offset print, a large output or consumer of water is your bath, your chiller which runs. You can actually delay the frequency of that by adding filtration units. So you're recycling the same water. We obviously do, most of us would do it based on the conductivity, but you can prolong the life of the conductivity of the same bath by filtering it repeatedly. So again, it's something that you can look at. And again, the economic viability does work out because it helps reduce your press downtime, and therefore it helps improve your output of your press. Other examples that we've done, so most companies, whenever using special colors, you always have leftover inks, which typically are used to mix and consume as black. The black that comes out is not very great. So we sort of went back and said, what else can we do with it? So if you're running in your own ink kitchen, one of the things we've done is we've mixed these into separate shades, so a red, a yellow, a blue, and then feed these into, if you're running an ink matching software, feed these as raw material into your ink matching software, so that your ink matching software will then pick it up when it comes up with the next formulation for your ink. And over time, you'll consume these inks faster, and they won't be so much of a burden on you. A lot of suppliers now are willing to take back raw material packaging. For example, chemicals, the buckets or the plastic containers, they're willing to take back and give you a price reduction on it. Even in terms of plates now, suppliers are talking about taking back the corrugated boxes and giving you price rebates. So these are things you can sit down with the suppliers and explore. I think Vipul mentioned that having great suppliers is very important, and that is true. You can sit down with them and work out these kind of efficiencies. It'll help. It's a win-win for both. Even sourcing pelletized paper helps reduce the packaging. So you're essentially throwing out less waste, and at times the costing can be worked out. Unfortunately, pelletized paper in India still isn't cheaper than buying it in packets, but if you're importing, that definitely helps. And lastly, reducing your finished material waste, right? That has a huge impact on your bottom line, as well as how green you are effectively. Monitoring that waste, having a feedback loop on how you can estimate that waste better also helps reduce your finished material waste. So for example, a lot of people just have a thumb rule, 5% wastage, and they add that to your issued material. But if you actually measure what's coming out, and if you keep adjusting that 5% to say 4 or 3.5, depending on your output, you'll be able to improve that further. And that can have a huge impact on both how much waste you're throwing out every month and how much profit you're making. So again, something worth looking into. So in summary, I think green is definitely more profitable. It's all about reducing consumption, and it's a double benefit for you. You become more profitable, you become greener, and yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Animesh. There has been a lot of learnings from each one of the panelists. Thank you all. Hope you all enjoyed this, and I'm sure each one of you will have a number of questions. So we are currently flooded with questions, so we will be starting with the Q&A round now. Since there is a limited time available, we'll ensure to answer all the remaining questions via email or offline. Over to Noel Dicuna.
One of the questions that's here is, since majority of the panelists belong to offset, any of your plant has become alcohol free, which is one of the most hazardous material. Maybe each one of them could answer this. This comes from Mr. Pranav Sathe. Who's going to take this first?
Noel, we tried alcohol-free substitute, alcohol-free chemicals. It just doesn't work. What we found was that it does help printing sometimes. But what happens is most of the products, they corrode your rollers and create more trouble than good. So we actually discontinued using all those products. Alcohol seems to be safer bet.
Okay. Animesh, what's it with you?
Same thing, Noel. We've tested it ourselves, and we didn't really find the results to be something that we could continue with. I also think that one of the reasons people haven't really moved is that there isn't much advantage in moving right now. The cost of IPA relatively is very, very small, and it's a fairly new technology. So I think people have generally been a little more conservative in making the shift.
Okay. Staying with you, Animesh, there is Vishali Kekre who wants to know, is there anything that a design agency can do to improve green impact?
Yeah, lots. So the selection of material largely comes from design agencies. So, learning about recycled offerings, recycled boards, even in terms of sizing, the amount of wastages that can be saved by getting paper efficient sizes, it can make a huge impact.
Okay.
Cost and output waste.
Okay. Vipul, if you as ITC are also engaged with a lot of design agencies, is there anything that you could recommend to Vishali?
I think choice of substrates, like Animesh mentioned, plays a very vital and important role. Of course, you can look at designing your layouts in such a way that you minimize, off-cut wastes, etc. Nesting can be used. Special processes like oil stamping, etc. So there are things which can be incorporated at the design stage. If, for example, the designer is aware of all these intricacies in manufacturing, then naturally you will end up saving a lot of material and ultimately the cost.
Okay. There is one question to Mr. Kalra. Regulatory compliance is a complex issue that many companies need to consider. How does this play into the adhesive department, and how well is your company suited to meet the global regulatory demands?
For the existing and new products, for both we are well equipped. We have full-fledged.
Sanjeev, we can't hear you. Can you come closer to the mic?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, now you can hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So as far as the existing products are concerned, we have a full-fledged quality assurance laboratories with all the modern equipments where we can check the heavy metals, the formaldehydes, and what we spoke about. As far as the new products development is concerned, then we select the raw materials from the reputed vendors. We have specifications of all the raw materials which would be compliant to all these regulations, ROHS, heavy metals, which is the same as heavy metals, APEO, etc., and then use it to formulate or to polymerize the polymers for the adhesive requirement. So that way we are fully equipped and have all the specifications and all the knowledge of what needs to be added, what not needs to be avoided.
Okay. Again, Animesh, Vishali has another question here, and she's asking whether are there any initiatives that the printing industry is taking to educate the design industry and the clients to improve their carbon footprints. Do you know anything? Since you are also associated with the BMPA, are you doing anything on that ground?
So I mean, with our client as an industry or an association level, I'm honestly not very sure. Which is why I said it's great that PrintWeek is hosting this, because green has somehow not been a very hot topic in discussion in the print industry. As far as we are concerned, we definitely try to share with our customers, new boards available, new recycled or interesting materials available that they could use, and new initiatives. For example, recently we were using this paper which is called seed paper. So it's something that you could print on and then go out and plant somewhere in a garden, and it will actually grow because it has seeds embedded in it. So they're able to use these kind of things as gimmicks or as tools in their marketing pitches, and that's how we try to engage them.
Okay, there's one Jatin Takkar who wants to know, this is a statement that he's made, sustainability can sometimes affect safety. What's your take on that? Like recycle boards may be sustainable but are not safe. Sustainability can sometimes, yes, sorry. So the question is, what's your take on recycle boards which may be sustainable but not safe? Maybe Vipul can answer this.
I would not directly agree to this statement. First of all, it would be wrong to say that sustainability is not safe. Of course, you have to look at the overall resources available in nature and then see which resources to be used where. You can't end up using virgin boards for everything, right? So when it comes to food product, for example, which is in direct contact with packaging, of course, you can use virgin board and use low migration, low order inks, etc., coatings, etc. But when it comes to regular run-of-the-mill products, which are non-hygiene products, I see no reason why we should not use recycled boards.
Okay. There's another question. What can one do to improve the recyclability of the print jobs? Animesh?
Honestly, I mean, I think India is fairly efficient in consuming all the waste and recycling it as far as we can. It might not be a very organized front, but I think it still manages to get through the grassroots and come back up. I think basically minimizing the packaging, utilizing effective properties of the specification, so not over-speccing, and basically not over creating, right? So now if you need a small book, you don't need to go for a 160-page book for a 12-page information kind of thing. But I think those are fairly economic things as well. I really can't think of any other things you could do at this point.
Selva, do you have any points to add here?
See, actually, Animesh said the right thing, because we have an informal industry which is backing the printing industry. So whatever waste they collect from your place, they find a way to recycle it. For instance, sometimes what we do is we send these full sheet wasted for making corrugated boxes, the top layer for corrugated boxes, when sometimes it helps. So there is both organized and unorganized way of recycling these waste sheets.
And someone is asking, what is the minimum investment to start a solar energy and wind energy projects? Selva, again, this question will need to be answered by you.
Solar, it depends on what you want to do, because in a crowded city, I think the cost of land is very important. And today people talk about, say about 1 crore for, I think it's about 4 crores for a megawatt. So you can calculate accordingly. That's only for the plant. So land, really depends on where you want to put the unit. And as of now, with our experience, I would say that we set up this solar plant from 3-4 years ago. And right now, the efficiency levels are sufficiently, significantly improved, and the capital cost also has come down substantially. As regards to wind power, I think apart from land cost, it will cost you anywhere between 1.25 to 1.5 crores just for the equipment for a 250 kilowatt plant. But people say the higher capacity wind turbines are better nowadays. But again, it depends on your budget.
Okay. Another little printing related question. This one is using lamination on print jobs is against the green principle because you cannot recycle the paperboard. If future brands become more conscious, do you think lamination will be phased out? Maybe Animesh and Selva can answer this.
I don't think lamination can be ever avoided because it has its own advantages. Because some of the packaging jobs and even book covers we use flat coat UV to do the decoration. But for protection, I think lamination is still the best.
So I agree. I think for lamination to go out, you will need an alternate medium to come in. I'm sure there's a lot of R&D going on in the film space as well to try and make them greener or recyclable. And I think once that comes in, you'll start seeing people moving over to that. But I don't see it going out immediately in the near future unless there's some regulation which comes in.
Right, I think we are now nearing to the end of the session. I'll now hand over the mic to Priya, who will conclude.
So thank you, panelists, and thank you everyone for your time and patience. So what we'll do, we still have a number of questions pending. What we will get it answered from the panelists and send the answers to you guys offline. And finally, do not forget to send in your print entries for the Print Week India Awards 2017, especially in the Green Printing Company of the Year. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Selva. Thank you, Vipul. Thank you. And thank you, Sanjeev, for your kind support. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I learned a lot here. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.